So various methods to solve a quadratic. We've done all 4 of these methods, so I'm going to do one example of each and talk a little bit about when it's good, maybe when it's not good. And so I like these days. We don't have them enough in math, where most days it's like so focused in on the process, how to work this particular problem. But we need days where we kind of step back and think, all right, I know a bunch of processes. How do I know when to use which one? That's what today's about. So square root method, that's probably the easiest. That's where we end up having plus or minus square root of something. Sometimes jokingly referred to the plus or minus square root method. The trick is it doesn't always work, or you need something specific to happen in order to use the square root method. So let's start with ax squared plus bx plus c. Do you know what this equation has to look like? Or more specifically, what can't be there if you want to use the square root method? The c can be there, but the b can't be there, because you need to be able to get x squared by itself and then square root. So it's easy, but only use if b equals 0, if there's not an x term, because there's no way to use it with an x term. So let's do one that was a little bit like one on the test. And people messed up not because of the square roots, but because of the fractions. 1/2 x squared minus 10 equals 8. Okay, so I guess first, is it clear why we're able to use the square root method for this one? There's no x term. b equals 0. Yay, that's good news. That means we can just get x squared by itself and then square root and then have our answer, as long as we don't forget the plus or minus. So, Ben, what would you like to do first?
Plus 10 to the other side.
Beautiful. Add 10 to both sides, so 1/2 x squared equals 18. Corinna, what would you like to do next? This is a step that some people missed on the test.
To factor out the 1/2.
I want to take care of the 1/2, but I don't think I would phrase it as factor out. I want to get x squared by itself. So times 2. So times 2. That will fix the 1/2. What a bunch of people, no, maybe not a bunch, what some people did on the test was divide by 2. Like, no, that won't work. That would not get 1/2 off of there. So yeah.
Flipping the fraction work?
Sure, because you'd be multiplying by 2 over 1.
Yeah,
So x squared equals 36. Oh, that's even better. Because Mateo, what would we do next? Square root both sides. So is my answer x equals 6? No. Plus or minus. So we usually like the square root method. It's easy, but again, you can only use it if that bx term is not there. All right. Any questions on that method? The method itself isn't bad, and when to use it isn't bad. So we like the square root method. Factoring. In my notes, I have this written. Easy? Question mark? Like, well, how good are you at factoring? If you're good at factoring, it's a nice method. If you can't factor, then obviously it's not great. This won't always work. I guess that's the problem with factoring. It only works if it factors. So it feels like circular. Yeah, use factoring if you can factor. But if you can't factor, you got to do something else. And I guess as far as easy, if a equals 1, definitely easy. Should be. If a doesn't equal 1, I'll just say not as easy. You can interpret that as whatever scale of difficulty you like. It's definitely more difficult than if a equals 1. So let's do a couple of these to remind ourselves. X squared minus 12 equals 4x. by the way, we are going to do 2 of these, so try to keep this work in a column, and we'll do another one next to it in a minute. Jordan, what do you want to do first on this one?
Move the 4x to the side.
Good. Move the 4x over. Probably put it in order so it makes it a little bit easier to look at. Fernando, will that thing factor? I mean, presumably it will since it's in the factoring section. Yes. Can you factor it for us?
Put an X on each side.
Okay.
And
So I need 2 numbers that multiply to negative 12 and add to negative 4.
I'm thinking 2 and 6.
I'm thinking that's probably right. What about the signs of 2 and 6?
-6 and positive 2.
Good. Eli, am I done with the problem? Box it up, move on to the next one. Yeah, get the x by itself. So how would I do that? You could just jump to the answer if you'd like. Good. The missing step that most of you don't show, which is fine, is setting both of those factors equal to 0. So if you can factor, factoring is easy. If you can't factor, then you're kind of stuck spinning your wheels. Let's do one more factoring. 6x squared equals 3x. 6x squared equals 3x. George, what do you want to do first on that one?
Move the 3x.
Good. Let's move the 3x over. Scarlett, we're in the factoring section here. So how do I factor 6x squared minus 3x? This is the easy kind of factoring that people forget to look for. So what can I factor out? What's the greatest common factor, Scarlett, of 6x squared and 3x? What's that? Not 2. 2 will be left on this one if I take out a 3. But what else can I take out? Anybody? An x. Let's take out a 3 and an x. And then I got to make sure the right stuff gets left over. So, Layla, what's left over in the parentheses? 2x minus 1. Good. Elisa, what do we do with those factors? Set them equal to 0. So this would be one where it might be helpful to set them equal to 0. I let Eli skip over that on that last example, which was fine. But when things look a little bit weird, it might be worthwhile to show that step. Less likely to miss it if we take the time to say 3x equals 0. So x equals 0. 2x minus 1 equals 0. So x equals 1/2. So a couple of factoring problems. All right, the bottom 2, complete the square and quadratic formula. Completing the square, it does always work. It's not always fun. Maybe it's never fun. But it always works. But what was that first step that you sometimes have to do in order to be able to use complete the square?
Set a equals 2, 1.
Right, you got to make a equal 1. Make a equal 1. So let's go with 2x squared plus 8x plus 40 equals 0. Complete the square problems are fun for a teacher because there's so many steps. I get to call on lots of people. Of course, that makes it fun for you as well. Kinley, what do you want to do first? Here's a hint.
Move over the...
Okay, that'll work. Either one.
Oh, yeah, I see. Just go ahead and divide by 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably safer divide by 2 first. I think she was going to say move over the 40, which is fine as long as the next step is divide by 2.
I didn't write it down.
So let's be safe and let's divide by 2 first. because now it's eligible for complete the square. So divide everybody by 2. Max, what would you like to do next? Now we can move the 20 over. X squared plus 4x. I'll leave some space there because I know something's going to take that space. Emery, what would you like to do next?
HSA.
Oh, I love it. Yes. HSA. I will accept that as an answer. Ava, what in the world does HSA stand for? Half it, square it, add it. Whoops. Half it, square it, add it. Half it, square it, add it. OCN, half of what? Half of b. Good. So b over 2 is 2. We square it, we get 4. We add it to both sides. Half it, square it, add it. Obviously, there's more to the method above that. There's more to the method below that, but that's kind of the heart of the deal there. Half it, square it, add it. Angelina, what would you like to do next? So what's on the left-hand side? X plus 2? Good. X plus 2 squared equals negative 16. Right? Because it always factors with b over 2. Mia, what would you like to do next? Square root both sides. Yes. I guess I need to be careful. Madison, what do I get on the left-hand side if I square root both sides? Very nice. Remember the plus or minus, handled the I. Plus or minus 4i. One more step, Mason, what would you like to do to get x by itself? Move the 2 over. So I'm going to put the negative 2 first. Negative 2 plus or minus 4i. We've done complete the square, but good practice to see it again. And then the last method, quadratic formula. It's another one that always works. Always works, and no stipulations. Like, you don't have to have a equal 1. You don't have to do any. It always, always, always works. And so the problem I want to do for this one is the same as the problem we just did. So hopefully we get the same thing if it's the same problem. 2x squared plus 8x plus 40 equals 0. So you might want to call that out. We're working the same problem, but now we're going to use the quadratic formula in a moment. Audrey, what would you like to do first on this one? Yeah, we can still divide by 2. That would make life easier. So x squared plus 4x plus 20 equals 0. I ought to pull a popsicle stick and make somebody sing, but that's kind of mean. Oh, great question about the 2 on the outside. If it's an equation, we can divide by 2, and it's gone, so you don't have to. You don't have to worry about it. If that equals 0 wasn't there, then you would need a 2 on the outside. That happened on the test, on the factoring problem that had x's and y's in it. You could take out a 6 or a 4, depending on which version you had. But that 6 or the 4 had to stay there because there was no place for it to go. You couldn't divide by it. Okay, let's go A, B, and C here, and then I'll sing the song. Layla, what's A equal to? 1. Haley, B is equal to? And Brooklyn, C is equal to? 20. Okay, x equals negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Maybe it's just me, but I can't hardly even say the quadratic formula without singing it in my head. The stuff with quadratic formula, the difficulty is in the simplifying, not so much the formula. So let's see, 16 minus 80. You would get calculators, but it's probably best to only use them when you aren't sure of something. I can do that. Square root of negative 64 over 2. Square root of negative 64. Oh, this is perfect. Running out of popsicle sticks. But Aiden, what's the square root of negative 64? 8 is sort of right. The square root of negative. You got to take the I out. So 8i. All over 2. And then the last popsicle stick for the last step. Samantha, how can I reduce that?
Divide or multiply by 2.
I like divide by 2. Let's divide everybody by 2. I can divide both of those by 2. So negative 2 plus or minus 4i. Which, remember, this was the same problem we did as the quadratic formula problem. So our answer should be the same, even though we got there a different way. And they are, so kind of confirmation that we did that right. Yay us. Okay, so the next page is this one. I don't know. I'm feeling kind today, so let's just say the odds on this worksheet. Thank you, Mr. Wolf. You're welcome. You're welcome. Some of you guys have band state, others have sound and music, PSAT week. There's a lot going on. You've also already done all these kinds of problems. So we'll just say the odds. Read the directions, though. Solve using any algebraic method. Obviously show your work. There's a few people who are starting to just write down their answers, and they're not getting credit because on problems like this, like early in the year, sometimes you can look at a problem and be like, x equals 3, got it. This, you can't just look at those. Like, whatever method you pick is fine, but if you don't have steps shown, then I know all you did was write down the answer from a friend or from me or whatever.
Is there going to be a day where the evens are assigned, or is it like the last one where they're just...
Probably not. But don't, like, mark them out. But sometimes people want extra help on things. That's a great spot for extra help to save for later if you want. But no, only the odds will be assigned.
This might be a stupid question to ask anyways. If we have 2 with completely square in the quadratic formula that always work, why do you have to run the square root and factor?
Okay, so the question was, we have 2 methods that always work. Why even bother with the other methods? Because the other methods are easier.
Okay.
So we'd rather use those if we can. I could answer your question a slightly different way. If you really don't mind using the quadratic formula, most people don't really like complete the square, but that means you could use quadratic formula or complete the square on every one of these.
Okay.
That'd be kind of annoying, especially, let's see, number 1 doesn't factor. Number 5, that could use the square root method on that. I don't think 7 factors. So, again, you got options. But that's part of today is figuring out which way you want to go.
Gotcha. But
you're right. You can, in some ways, it's the safe way to always do one method. But we will occasionally ask you to do a certain method, so it's maybe not the wisest choice. All right, you got plenty of time left. 25 minutes or so. 9 problems. 3 minutes or so per problem, maybe. I don't know. Finishing might be tough. But you could get close.